Dogman family versus Brown Bear clan in Nova Scotia. Dear Scary Stories NYC. I was hiking around Nova Scotia once in the summer between my junior and senior year in college when I happened to almost get involved in the middle of a tag team match kind of a battle between what I at first took to be one lone werewolf against an entire sleuth of brown bears. It turned out to be more complicated than that, so I should start at the beginning. Oh, and yes, a group of bears really is called a sleuth or a sloth. I don't know why. It doesn't sound right to me either. So on that particular night, I was camping on the southern shore of Seal Cove Lake in East Ship Harbor, which is on the southeastern shore of Nova Scotia. My then girlfriend was camping with me, and she woke me up in the middle of the night to complain that there were splashing sounds coming from the lake, which we were camping very close to. I told her that splashing sounds often occur in bodies of water, but she didn't appreciate my sarcasm. She insisted I go out and see what was happening. It was dark. It was after midnight, and I wanted to go back to sleep. She was hearing none of that, and before I knew it, I was out there in the pitch dark night, squinting around and trying to let my eyes adjust to the darkness. I did bring a flashlight with me, but I didn't want to use it in case the splashing was coming from a biker gang or Godzilla or something. I figured that a flashlight doesn't just light things up for me, it also draws attention to me that I might not want to have. So I maneuvered slowly through the trees, and I could hear the splashing as well. It sounded like a big guy doing belly flops into the water. In my head, I visualized Ralph Cramden. If you're too young to know that name, imagine Chris Christie in a bus driver uniform. By that point, I was hearing growling and other sounds of unhappy animals, so I ruled out any sort of human being of any size or shape. When I got close enough to peek out from behind a tree and observe the lake, I saw two things, bigger than those two legendarily large men. There, in the water, splashing around, was a big brown bear, and it seemed to be involved in some kind of battling with another creature about the same size or maybe a little bigger. I just couldn't understand what the other beast was, and I darted from behind one tree to behind another until I got as close to the shore as I felt I could safely get. I used to laugh when I was a kid at old people in my family who talked about walking home by the light of the full moon. Having grown up with streetlights, I didn't think the moon provided enough light to see much of anything in the dark. Well, it turns out that the longer you're out there under that moon, the brighter everything seems to look to you. So I stayed there, observing the scene, and slowly, bit by bit, I gathered visual information on what exactly that bear was having a fight with. The other creature had longer ears than the bear, and they were sort of triangular shaped up on top of his head, while the bear, of course, had rounded ears. The creature was far more angular than the bear, whose body was as rounded as his ears. Its fur was lighter, and it shone silver in the moonlight. Both creatures had elongated snouts, but the other beast did not have that giant round head that the bear did. After some time, I began to think that I might be looking at a dog or a wolf, but the size of it made no sense to me. I'd never seen any kind of canine that large, slightly larger than what appeared to be an adult bear. Whatever that creature was, it also seemed to be winning the battle. The two behemoths traded blows, each of them attempting to do damage with their massive paws. But at one point, I saw something that shocked me straight down to my core. The lighter-colored beast raised its arm up in the air in a threatening pose. I could see that its claws seemed to be at the end of what looked like fingers. It looked like it had both fingers and a thumb on that threatening hand. And not only that, but the arm that hand was at the end of seemed remarkably like that of a human being. Electricity shot through me as I was beginning to understand that I was witnessing something you don't see every day. In fact, I was seeing something you won't find in any zoology book. I was looking at something that isn't supposed to exist. I still feel tingly all over thinking back on that night. I wondered at the time if I might be discovering a new kind of animal. I wondered if any person alive had ever seen such a creature before. I found out later, of course, that people had already been reporting something like this in Michigan and in Wisconsin down in the States. Actually, I don't even know if they were reporting upright canines with opposable thumbs way back then. That old hoax film of Dogman that they call the Gable film shows a man-sized dog running on all fours, so maybe this Canadian beast I was seeing was one of the first of this werewolf-type Dogman to actually be seen in modern times by human eyes. I'm not a researcher or historian though. Maybe some of you in the comments can clear up what happened historically when concerning the Dogman, and in what order. At that point in the fighting, I had only seen the werewolf animal from the waist up, so I was still basically only assuming that it walked upright like a human. While I was watching the fighting in the lake, trying to make out details of the action behind the white foam spray they constantly generated more of, I suddenly heard moans and bellows coming from my left. Looking over there, I was amazed to see two more bears, both as big as the one in the water. They were standing up on their hind legs at attention, watching the fighting in the water same as I was. I wondered if their deep, sad cries were expressing sadness, or if they were actually cheering on their side. Maybe they were suggesting to the bear that this fight was not worth having, because the next thing I remember happening was that bear coming toward the shore, about halfway between where I was hiding and where the other two bears were standing. The werewolf-type animal followed him quickly to the shore, obviously not done with this fight, and looking for some more action. When that dog-like thing emerged from the water, I saw that my assumptions of it being upright were in fact true. It walked out of the lake, dripping and heavy with water, on the strength of its two hind legs. Whatever I had been expecting to see, this surprised me. Actually, it really was the most surprising moment of my life, and the most exciting as well. In my half-awake state, it felt like watching the greatest television show of all time. Then, whatever that werewolf thing was, it snarled at the big bear and chased it directly over to where I was hiding. That's when things suddenly stopped feeling like a TV show and started to feel one whole heck of a lot more real. I slipped back deeper into the trees by a few rows, not wanting any of these beasts to catch my scent. They might be fighting with each other now, but at the end of the conflict, they would go back to being creatures that hunted for their meat. I can't speak for the rest of you, but I personally am built out of meat. So I'm gonna call that werewolf what we would all call it if we saw it today. It was a dogman. It walked out of the surf on legs that looked canine or lupine, but it walked like a man. It had a torso like a man as well, but its head and legs were like a dog. I wondered then, and I wonder now, what the creature actually was. A kind of a wolf that evolved to walk upright, and then evolved hands? I think monkeys and apes had hands to climb in trees. How would a canine which remains on the ground evolve 4 fingers and a thumb? Had it become bipedal first, then because the front paws were free to use for other purposes besides walking, developed hands with thumbs afterward? Obviously, I can't answer those questions. Nobody can, at least not at this point. Once the dogman and the bear were both on shore, the former, as I said, chased the latter toward my neck of the woods, and that put the fear of God into me. Or the fear of getting trampled by beasts 3 times my size at least. The 2 of them slammed into a nearby tree with such force that the earth shook and leaves went flying all around. I was about to turn tail and run back to camp when I saw the other 2 bear move closer to the action, with one of them charging that Dogman and taking him down from the side. Now the battle was on land, and it was between the Dogman and a different bear, as the first one scampered away out of my view to address its wounds or whatever bears do after a big fight. The second bear stood up on its hind legs to even out the size difference, and the Dogman bent over and grabbed him around his middle. That Dogman's man-like arms were far longer than a human's could ever be, and they nearly reached all the way around the midsection of that bear. With his dog head down and his arms around that bear, the Dogman charged forward, toppling off his feet and rolling in the sand, wrestling with his ursine opponent. Both of them got covered in a coating of sand, but most especially the dripping wet Dogman. When the embrace was finally broken and the Dogman stood up again, it almost looked like its entire back was covered in cement. I would have laughed, but this was not a laughing moment, as you can probably understand. So when one bear would become tired, another would come over to continue the fight. In that sense, it really was like a tag team wrestling match, and I couldn't understand after a while how the Dogman could withstand such an onslaught from 3 different, massive and strong, vicious opponents. Yes, the Dogman had a slight size advantage, but it also fought more savagely, as though it had more motivation than the bears did. And then, what happened next seemed to explain why that Dogman was battling so desperately and so fiercely. From an area to my right that I had not had a direct view of emerged another Dogman, this one smaller than the first, and then another Dogman, and then another. These somewhat smaller creatures also walked upright, but they were probably more like 6 feet tall. I'm 6'1", and they seemed to be about the same size as I was, only these guys were ripped. I wouldn't take any of them on in a fight, even if they were forced to wear boxing gloves to protect me from their claws, and a dog muzzle to protect me from their teeth. These were some nasty-looking animals that you wouldn't want to run into in a dark alley, or next to a lake for that matter. I had thought it was one Dogman versus all these bear, but then these other Dogmen showed up and I realized I had not been watching a Dogman at all. This was a dog woman, a doggy mama if you will, and she was fighting off this sleuth of bears in order to provide cover for her young ones to drink water. It's possible something like that was going on with the bears as well, but I only saw adult bears on that side. Of course, they might have been keeping their offspring hidden, that's definitely quite possible. When the younger ones walked over to back up their dog mama, all battling ceased, and the 2 sides bellowed and postured at each other. Both sides now had turned to intimidation, and you could see by the way each positioned him or herself what the pecking order was in each tribe. It was during this period that the mother and the largest of the bears locked eyes with each other and made threatening pose after threatening pose to create and maintain a sort of deadlock or a tie. While this was happening, I saw the remainder of the animals drinking from the lake. It was as if the leaders of each family were staking their ground and allowing both families to drink. That must have been why they came here in the first place, but it got delayed by the presence of the other and the battle that ensued. When both families had their fill of water, they each left the scene in opposite directions. I went back to tell my girlfriend about all the incredible things I'd just seen, but she got furiously angry when I woke her up. "You woke me up to tell me that you saw animals?" she bellowed. "How would you like it if I woke you up every time I saw a squirrel?" Wow, what a false equivalency. Even years later, when I remember her obnoxious, smug face belittling me for doing what she asked me to do, I feel such fury and contempt for her. Why was I with her? Clearly, she was a symptom of my lack of self-appreciation. She was the only reason this story even happened, yet every time I tell the story to someone, I despise her dishonesty and gaslighting even more than the last time. She created drama when there didn't need to be any, and to me, that's just about the most heinous, unthinkable act possible. She wants you to hate her. She hopes you'll act out against her, and she's prepared beforehand to claim victimhood based on whatever she tricks you into doing. She takes people who love her and turns them into people who have to focus all their energy on not hating her. I was too nice a guy, and she was trying to drive me to violence to make my life as worthless and empty as that of this sociopath I stupidly took camping. All of my excitement and fear and amazement went out the window, if our tent had a window, that is. The most incredible thing that had ever happened to me just happened, and she emotionally abused me and wouldn't even let me tell her about it. On top of all that, she was the one who forced me to go out there in the first place. I didn't know it then, but that was the end of my relationship with that person. We actually stayed together for almost another 2 years because I didn't have enough self-respect to remove that sociopath from my life sooner. For this reason, I didn't tell very many people about this Dogman and brown bear battle. I had been hurt badly by her verbal abuse. It wasn't until a few years after the breakup when someone else told me their sighting of Bigfoot, and that caused me to recount the events of my sighting in full. Well, that Bigfoot witness friend, who we can call Jay, expressed great interest in what I was saying and told me how rare the sighting was. It was like a light bulb going off over my head. I thought that was something special I witnessed. For some reason, I had just accepted that nasty woman's assessment that it was an unimportant occurrence. In reality, she was putting me down so that she could feel more important. She could never acknowledge something important in my life because she never was going to have anything important in her own life. Her feelings of self-importance came from keeping me down so that she was above me. Now I know this, but I had to learn it the hard way. Here's the difference between having nice, sane people who share your interests in your life and having self-absorbed, emotionally vacant narcissist monsters dedicated to disrespecting the feelings of everyone around them in an attempt to feel that they are better than everyone. Instead of having everything good turned into a pointless stomachache, you can actually join together to make things happen that you never could have created on your own. So my Bigfoot witness friend Jay and I went back to Seal Cove Lake the next summer, hoping to catch a similar event. We did not, but we made friends along the way and decided to come back the next year again. So we went back again and again for about 10 or 11 years, one trip each summer, each time bringing fancier camera and audio recording equipment with us. We also brought 1 or 2 additional new friends with us each time, people who were fascinated by my Dogman and bear experience and who wanted to have a similar experience themselves. One year, the group of us saw a black bear from a great distance, but we never saw them come by the lake, and we definitely never saw a Dogman on any of those trips. I'm not sure what was different about that first night I was there, which gathered so many large predators in one place at the same time. I suppose it could be chalked up to random chance. Maybe the battle was memorable enough in a bad way to the Dogman and bear families that they avoided going back to that lake again. There certainly are many other bodies of water in Nova Scotia that they had to choose from. So let my hard time save you a lot of trouble. Learn from my mistakes. If someone doesn't share your interests, you probably shouldn't get close to them. If someone openly disrespects and insults you, you have no obligation to stick around. On the other hand, if you find like-minded people, you can have fun adventures together. Even though Jay and our other friends never saw the Dogman in all our return visits. We had a lot of fun, and we have great memories. Plus, we make each other realize how cool we are, and that's absolutely invaluable to have in your life. I now understand that it was an important, once-in-a-lifetime event the night that I saw Dogman family versus Brown Bear Clan in Nova Scotia. In the old days, people used to celebrate Christmas with scary stories. That's why this year, we're bringing you the 12 Days of Dogman. From Monday, December 13th through Christmas Evil, we'll bring you another full episode of Dogman Encounter stories each day. And then, on Christmas Day, we'll make it a baker's dozen. The 12 Days of Dogman, right here on the Scary Stories NYC channel, bringing you scary tidings and Christmas fear. Dan, he's the man. He's no freako, that D'Amico. Please join us in thanking Daniel D'Amico for making this episode possible. He's one of our $7 PayPal subscriber members, which means he gets to see our secret uncensored Dogman stories, as well as our 21 hours of archived uncensored Dogman stories as well. Recently, I've started giving our $7 members one sneak preview per week when possible, which hasn't been possible so far this week. And you can see them all too. Just join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com, or else click that join link under this or any of our videos to become a channel member. And now here's internationally famous TV spokespuppy Henry Lee Dogman to provide the rest of the deets. Hank? Thanks for watching till the end. If you liked what you saw, please consider clicking like on the video or sharing it with your friends and family that you think might also be interested. If you would like to see more of our work, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon next to the subscribe button so that YouTube will alert you when we put out a new video. To become a channel member and gain access to our special perks, you can click that join link under each of our videos. Another option is to join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. You can join for as little as 99 cents on YouTube or $1.50 at peterbernard.com, and that gains you access to our weekly secret uncensored episodes. If you'd like to see our 21 hours of archives of uncensored Dogman stories, then please join at the $3 level or above. To get to watch our shows in advance of the public, please join at our $10 level. That gets you all the perks. If you join our channel memberships, you need to check our community page here on YouTube in order to get the links to the secret videos and other perks. If you're in the PayPal subscribers club, Peter will email you all the news and links himself. Once joining the PayPal club, which is Peter's homemade club, please give him a chance to see that you've joined and to compose you a personal welcome email, as none of that is automated. But whichever you join, we'll name you an executive producer for the next available episode. Do you have a scary experience that you'd like to share with us? You can email us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or call our Scary Stories voicemail hotline at 804-LA-SCARY. That's 804-537-2279. It's a Google voicemail box, so that means it keeps cutting off after every 3 minutes. If your story is longer than that, please keep calling back and we can piece it together on our end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.